I just started. I'm going to start mine too. Wait, now. Wait, now, Pia. I started mine. Did yours start too?
I don't think so. Wait a minute. Record, request host.
Send
I
that
have
again.
request.
Yeah, send it again. Send the
Okay.
request again, please.
Unable to send the request because the host is recording.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm sorry. The host is recording, the cloud recording.
Claudia,
Yeah.
can you record the Spanish channel for us?
Yes, I'm gonna try. I've never
Because I
done it
can
before.
put, perhaps I have to put first the Spanish thing. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. More record. No, I cannot do it. Claudia, perhaps you can.
Okay.
Can you record to your phone? Is there option recording to your phone?
You're talking to me, perhaps.
Because normally there are two options, record to the cloud and record to the phone or to the computer. Do you have that option?
Or Claudia's going to do it.
Yeah, I send you the request.
Got it.
That's good.
Thank you. Okay, are we good? My recording's on. All right then. So welcome back. We are ACI Course 11, Class 1. This is January 12th, 2026. And let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention strong, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. Teach me that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world, the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kanyayatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. So thank you for wanting to go on in your study of the Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life. This part 2, we will cover the chapters on the perfection of patience, the perfection of joyous effort. Geshe Michael says, having a good time, doing our virtues, our Bodhisattva deeds. And then the chapter on the perfection of meditation, which we would think would be teaching us about the 5 obstacles and the 9 levels and how to take the right posture. And it's not that at all. It's surprising what that chapter delivers to us, because no amount of effort in our 9 levels of meditation works if our behavior off the cushion is not kind. And so he uses his chapter on meditation to teach us more about behavior modification management that cultivates a successful meditation practice to bring on these realizations, the making real of these concepts that we are learning about. When we have some direct experience of what the concept is teaching, then that becomes a real thing for us. And once we have that kind of proof that something is true, we are more consistently able to live according to it. Those realizations, the deeper ones, happen in a state of deep meditation. So we would want to have an effective on-cushion meditation ability. But it doesn't come from just hours and hours on the cushion. So that will take us our 10 classes. And then we have our review as we did before. So Geshe always starts his classes saying, why do we come to a class like this? Like, why do we bother? And the answer is always because there's suffering in the world, my own suffering and suffering everywhere else. And then the flip side of their suffering is that everybody just wants happiness. And it's not selfish to say, what motivates me moment by moment is wanting happiness, wanting pleasure, wanting to feel good, wanting things to go well. I mean, that's not bad. That's what it is to be alive. The problem is we go to the wrong things for our pleasure and our happiness. And we're willing to do things that end up hurting us, thinking that doing them will bring us the happiness that we're in search of. And sometimes it even looks like they do bring the happiness we're in search of. And that actually makes it worse, because then we want more of them, thinking they are the cause of our happiness. And eventually, if they aren't the real causes, they fail. And then when they fail, after all that time of working, we feel so betrayed, and hurt and upset, that then we do more of the kinds of deeds that brings distress and suffering in the future. And as we understand the time between when we do a behavior and we get a result from that behavior is so long that we cannot directly connect the dot that if I say something nasty, then my world is going to be made up of unpleasant sounds and people saying nasty words to me, and me getting even more nasty than I was before. We can't see that because of that time gap. So we rely on those with the realizations of the truth of the marriage of karma and emptiness. And then we try it out for ourselves based on an educated faith to see if the behavior change that we call greater and greater kindness doesn't itself help us feel happier and more content. Not the result of kindness, but the just doing the kindness brings us the happiness. We're thinking the happiness comes from some result. And what we're learning is that creating the causes for that result is the happy part once we understand. So we are in search of meaning in our lives. Like at some point, maybe earlier, we didn't care so much about meaning in our lives. We were busy growing up and doing what you're supposed to do as an adult human. And then somewhere along the line, it was like, this is not satisfactory. Something's wrong with this picture. And we went searching for something to give more meaning to life. And because of our past seeds, behavior, we ended up in some way being attracted to this particular spiritual teaching. We heard the pen. It made sense. We wanted more. And so Geshe-la suggests that for those seeking meaning, there are 4 activities that help us cultivate that meaningfulness of our life. And the first one is to put in the effort to study spiritual things, the things that give meaningful meaning are the spiritual wisdoms of our humanity. And we can hear them and be inspired and leave it at that, and it won't make much difference to us, like being inspired by a great movie, and then you go home and 2 days later you've kind of forgotten. So in order for the meaningfulness of studying the wisdoms to impact us, we know we need to put in the effort to hear the lessons, think about the lessons, meditate on the lessons, try them on for size in life. And so in the process of this first activity, which is study, to learn the material well enough to be able to apply it to our lives takes reviewing it again and again. And this tradition says review new material at least 3 times, right? This one needs to review it 103 times before it sinks in. But so Geshe-la designed this program with that idea in mind for a Western culture that was already trained in take a lecture, do a reading, do a homework, take a test on it. And so he designed these courses in that same way so that we repeat the material at least those 4 times. You hear it, you read it, you do the homework, you do the quiz. And then a 5th time when we do the final. And then, of course, multiple times within that. So whether or not you care about getting a certificate or going on, I really encourage you to put in the time as we're doing these classes so that it can impact your heart and impact your behavior. Whether you see impact during the 6 weeks that we're together, I can't promise you. But I promise you that you will be impacted. And all the better when we keep up with the work, right? And make that commitment to yourself. The completion part is so, so, so important. Part to completion. So thank you for everyone who's already been doing that. Here we are in course 11. Everybody knows that if you miss a class, please get the recording, at least listen to it before you come to the next class, because each one of these builds on the one before, of course. So the second of these 4 activities is some kind of daily practice. In this tradition, the daily practice means meditation time practice. But what it is intended is that this daily discipline, some kind of daily discipline that keeps this training and practice of our spiritual life in the forefront of our mind. And that really does take a daily effort. Maybe I grew up going to church on Sundays, and then the rest of the week, it was out of my mind. And I had some friends who went to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. And I thought, why in the world would you go to church twice a week? And it was just like I had the wrong mindset. When in this tradition, we are empowered to have our church in our own home and our church service in our own booklet or in our own mind, and that we decide that it's so valuable to do the go to church that we do it once a day in the privacy of our home by sitting, before our holy being and saying our prayers and doing our meditation session, where we can just go deep inside and talk to them and listen to the answer. It can be as simple as that. We learn the method of a daily practice. In this tradition, the minimum would be to learn those meditation preliminaries called the 7-limb prayer, and do those daily. Even twice a day wouldn't be wasted time. And then at the end of those, do 5 minutes of what we would call meditation, where you're sitting really quietly, focused on that holy being or the topic from your meditation class, and think deeply, undistractedly about that topic, or think deeply, undistractedly about the amazing qualities of that being who you are aspiring to learn from. And then once a week, increase that 5-minute meditation time by 1 minute. So by the end of a year, your session is an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half, because your preliminaries take 15 to 20 minutes, and there's 5 minutes of dedication at the end. And your meditation time has just grown so effortlessly, 1 minute a week, that your whole life adjusts around it very sweetly. Keshe says, we make time to eat, sleep, bathe, do the dishes, go to work. But really, of all of those, the most significant time spent is the time doing those preliminaries and sitting thinking of the good qualities of that holy being. And he says it's more important than doing the dishes and brushing our teeth, actually. So, at some point, talk yourself into a daily practice if you haven't already. Try it on for size. He says, meditate as if your life depends upon it, because it does. The third activity that makes our life meaningful is to work towards being able to go into retreat twice a year. So when Geshe-la ACI gives their programs, which are 4 times a year, they call them retreat. And we are retreating, we are leaving our worldly life to go in and do a deep study and be with other people on the path. It's a beautiful experience to be with other like-minded people. The vibe is really high. We learn a lot. We experience a lot. So it is retreat in the sense that we're out of our ordinary life. But retreat in this tradition means solitary retreat. You take yourself out of connection with everything and everybody that you're familiar with, and you put yourself in a space where all there is to do is the practice you've decided that you will focus on for that retreat. So I'm really admiring Joanna that she has taken herself into a month-long retreat to work on her purification practices. And she's doing it. And I know it's hard, and I suspect she's scared. And she's doing it anyway. So hooray, and hooray for Frank for supporting her to do that. Because it's so common, right? That the family, the spouse says, "What, are you nuts? How can you leave us? You must hate us," And it's not that at all. It's because of our love. It's because we can't really do anything in our worldly life to make people happy. We can do more for others in retreat than we can out of retreat. And nobody understands that until you've done retreat to see what happens. But you can't just go, "Oh, retreat, I will go do a retreat," if we don't have training and understanding and practice in how to do retreat. Joanna did a number of group retreats, group trainings on how to do retreat, and then did short ones on her own before she launched into a month-long one. And so this tradition is designed to teach us how to do that. But our mindset tends to be, a month off twice a year, you've got to be nuts. Our work life doesn't allow that. And it doesn't allow that because of our karmic seeds. So we can work karmically with the idea someday my seeds will ripen such that my work life, my family life, my financial life, all of it will support me being able to do these solitary retreats. As I set my schedule, hopefully twice a year, but we build up. You can start with one day and then build up to a long weekend. My first solitary was 5. No, that's not true. My first solitary was 2 weeks. But after I had done 5-day little group ones, right, to learn how to do it, They are extraordinary, and there is a method. So don't do until you learn the method. But keep your mind open, is my point. Instead of, nah, that'll never happen to me. Fourth activity for a meaningful life is laboratory studies, meaning life, right? The retreat is withdrawing ourselves from usual life so that we can really make seeds in our mind in a strong, focused, powerful goodness way. But then we go back into life and we check out our behavior. And guess what? We go right back to our old habit. But our awareness is keener. And it's like, oh man, I did it again. And we make the effort to make these changes, little ones or big ones, in the period of time until we can get back in to retreat again and get deeper into those realizations to check out how we do when we come out. So the effort that we find in making our life meaningful is towards struggling with those mental afflictions, those mental emotional states that impel us to do unkind things, to get what we want and avoid what we don't want. If we lived all by ourselves in the cave, chances are we could read Master Shantideva's book, especially the chapter on not getting angry, and go, yeah, no sweat. Until we left our cave retreat and went to the grocery store, and 6 people cut in front of us, in front of the peanut butter. And then there's a long line at the checkout, and right. And we find it's like, I'm just as impatient as I was before. Being in retreat doesn't automatically change us. It gives us the insights for why and how to change. But then we need to try it on for size. And the way we do that is we go out amongst others and see how they push our buttons. And surprisingly, over time, we do recognize, wow, I used to have that button that when such and such happened, right, I would get upset. And here I am in the such and such happening. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Or even I'm compassionate to the other person. Whereas before I used to get mad at them. It shows up surprisingly randomly in my experience because of effort done, right? Both in retreat and out of retreat. So we need our work life. We need our family life. We need the places where our struggles happen in order to give ourselves the opportunity to try on the new behaviors that the spiritual tradition is teaching us would be wiser to do because of the seeds it plants in our mind for creating this pure world. What do we do to create the pure world? We practice giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, having fun doing all those things, cultivating our meditation, meaning getting used to living by it, and getting used to sitting deeply with ourselves on our cushion, all in order to cultivate this wisdom, meaning the direct experience of ultimate reality that proves to us that living according to these guidelines is the source of happiness for everybody, not just me. Not because they have some inherent truth or some inherent, this is a better tradition than anything else, but because it's the one that speaks to your mind. It's the one coming out of your heart that has the clue that will help you help everybody. So I know I went through a period where I just resisted going out amongst people. It was just too much energetically, too much effort, too much disinterest. My renunciation was renunciation of my material world, but it didn't have the renunciation of my mental afflictions strong enough. Once that turned on, it was like, whoa, I need to get out amongst the world in order to see whether I have renunciated my mental affliction. And then it shifted to where the renunciation is of ignorance, and that's turning out to be a much more difficult thing to override. So we have these 4 activities built in to our practice. It's quite beautiful. These classes are the study part. It has a meditation tradition. It has a retreat tradition. And then it has the helpfulness from the study part as to how to behave differently in the laboratory studies part. So we have a complete program for you. And we're using 2 authentic texts to study from. One is Changchub Sempa Chupa Long Jupa. So let me put up my screen share. And look what I learned yesterday. Natty taught me this. Are you seeing 2 things on your screen? Magic. Natty taught me how to do that. 2 things on my screen at once. I can only see 3 of you guys. Now I see 4. Now I see 3. Okay. So I'm sorry I can't see all of you, but I don't have to go back and forth. Yay. So here's our vocabulary. Please say to yourself, Changchub Sempa Chupa Long Jupa. There's a prenasal N inside here. Changchub Sempa Chupa Long Jupa. Sanskrit. Tibetan is Bodhisattva Charyavatara. Bodhisattva Charyavatara. They slur these 2 A's together. What's Bodhisattva? The one who wishes to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Changchub Sempa in Tibetan. Buddhahood warrior. Jukpa, Njukpa means learning, and Chupala means how to act. So really the text is learning how to act as a Buddhahood warrior. Guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life is how it is translated by everybody, apparently. Bodhisattva Charyavatara. The Tibetans give it a nickname, Chunjuk, which is a the chupa long jukpa in a contraction, the chu and the njuk. It means learning how to act. So if someone comes to you and says, what are you studying? You can say, I'm studying Jinjuk. And they're supposed to know exactly what you mean. And if you don't, you tell them, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which was written by Master Shantideva. Remember his story, Mr. Three's Thoughts? 700-ish AD in India. So this book is old. And it's been translated into many, many languages and published and republished and republished in all these years, which tells us it probably is useful, don't you think? Because if it wasn't useful, it would just fall off the radar screen and would have been lost to us long ago. But the guide is written in poetry, it's written in poetry. And poetry is concise and often metaphorical or allegorical, and can be difficult to understand. And so we rely upon commentaries written by people who have studied it through other masters, meditated on it, tried to live by it, maybe even took it into retreat and worked on it deeply, and then written about their own experiences of it. We call those commentaries. And we're studying from a commentary by a person named Gyaltsab Dharma Rinchen. He's a Tibetan. His dates are 1364 to 1432. So the guide is already an old book when Gyaltsab is studying it. Gyaltsab is one of the two main disciples of Tsongkhapa. Gyaltsab is known especially for his wisdom on the Bodhisattva way of life, the method side of the teachings, not that he isn't also a master of the wisdom side. Tsongkhapa's other disciple, Khedrab is known for his teaching and mastery of the wisdom side and the secret teaching side, but both have mastered both. So Gyaltsab wrote his commentary called Gyaltse Junyok. So the word Junyok is spelled like this. It looks like Joknyok, but somehow the pronunciation of it is Junyok. Like the J-O-K is a umlaut, Junyok. Gyaltse is another word for Bodhisattva. It means child of the Buddhas, child of the victors. And Junyok, we learned last course, is the easiest place to cross a river or a chasm or something. So suppose you have this big fast moving stream, and you need to get across it. And where you come across the stream, it's too fast flowing and big, you can't walk, you can't swim. So you go up and down the bank looking for a place where it comes together or where there's rocks, or somehow it'll be the easiest way, safest way to get across that river. That's what a Junyok is. So he's calling his text Here, the easiest way to get into the activities of being a child of the Buddha. The translation's called the entry point for children of the victorious Buddhas, Gyaltse. We have a nun whose name is Gyaltse, child of the Buddha, and she's definitely that. So Geshe-la repeats these two texts that we're using to remind us that we are studying from authentically carried material, the original source, and then a commentary that also has been protected and sustained for many years and now available to us through our holy teachers. So for this class, we will hear the root text verses and then Gyaltse J's explanation of them via Geshe Michael's explanation of them, so that we can get a feel for how Master Shanti Deva's book is meant to be used. It's not one that you sit down and read the whole thing through. You read a couple of verses, you stop and think about them for a while, and then move on. In these three courses on the guide, Geshe-la does not cover all the verses. He picks out the ones most useful, most pertinent, most commonly taught. So there's a lot more in the guide that to be worked with than just what we're getting in these three courses. And we'll have the tools to be able to explore it more deeply ourselves if we want to by the end of our three courses. All right. So I think I'm ready to start into this chapter. So we're starting with the chapter on patience. Here's the word down here, supa, S-U-P-A, supa. It is patience, but the term patience, think about what patience means to you. Being a patient person. Yeah, I can wait my turn without being grumpy much. Or patience. Yeah, mostly it feels like that. I can wait for stuff. But patience in our context is related to when we are in a situation that is unpleasant, even dangerous. The patience we're talking about here is the ability to not act in the automatic way that our habits and humanness and mental seeds, our mental afflictions are trying to make us act. It's having the ability to choose a different response in the face of a situation that's making us angry. Now, anger is another curious word. Thus, because it's a emotion that has such a wide range, from just a teeny little irritation to frustration to, I don't know what's between frustration and flat out anger, all the way up to full on rage. know where somebody's just crazy in their anger and can't control themselves hardly at all. So this sippa is the idea of the ability to restrain ourselves from acting from the mental affliction of mental upset in the way that we ordinarily would. I hope that came out right. That was a long sentence. Patience. Geshe-la calls it not getting angry in the circumstance where you ordinarily would, is the practice of patience. Now, the perfection of patience, we're not actually going to talk about that yet. We just need to get patience before we can do the perfection of patience. The perfection of patience, or even the perfectionizer of patience, has to do with recognizing the no-self nature of the three elements of the situation that seems to be causing the anger. We'll get to that later. Right now, the beginning of this chapter, Master Shantideva is first pointing out the harm that anger causes us, the harm that we can recognize if we bother to look, and the harm that we don't recognize, and then the difficulties in changing. So he's first making his case for why the practice of not getting angry is in fact one of the 6 perfections. I mean, why wasn't it the practice of not having jealousy or not having ill will? It's specific. Anger is specific. Okay, so he opens with something really harsh and radical. A single instance of anger destroys whatever good deeds you may have amassed in thousands of eons spent in practices like giving or making offerings to those who have gone to bliss. There is no kind of deed as evil as the act of anger. There is no spiritual hardship like patience. Practice it then. Concentrate on patience in many different ways. So in that first verse, a single instance of anger destroys whatever good deeds we have amassed. In our spiritual practice, the basis of it is purify our negativities and gather merit. Merit meaning deeds done with Bodhisattva in mind, and the kinds of things that we do to make the goodness that can ripen as our progress on the path are sharing our goodnesses and making offerings to the powerful karmic objects. And as we do that, we make imprints in our own mind that carry on and get added to by the more goodness that we do. Bringing us to improved circumstances as those seeds ripen and growing into our personal realization. So we've been at this a long time, apparently, and they they have a period of time called an eon, which if you remember that course 8, we talked about how long an eon is, the time it takes, right, for all of these things to happen. And that it can be around 10 to the 60th human years, 1 eon. 10 to the 60th years is too big a number to wrap our mind around. And he's talking about thousands of eons, not just one. Any goodness we've made in any time frame gets destroyed by a single instant of anger. I even hear that now, and it makes me want to run away, because it seems like any little bit of anger, it happens so easily, so frequently. I must have destroyed all the goodness I've ever made multiple times, if that's possible. So hopefully our mind goes, egads, what does he mean by a single instance of anger? That time I tripped on that rock and I got so upset, was that it? No. Is it the little frustrations when things aren't going right and everything's harder and I'm on my edge and just feeling pissed off? No, that's not it. It's a particular sustained, strong anger directed at a bodhisattva, they tell us, that is the anger a single instance of will destroy all of this good karma. Now, here's the thing, they say. The last time you got good and angry at somebody, like probably when we think about it now, we're still good and angry at them. Do we know whether or not that other was or is a bodhisattva? Well, my mind goes, if they were, they would not have done that thing to me. And so I justify it. They can't be a bodhisattva or they wouldn't have been so nasty. Not that I'm justifying my anger, but I'm saying, I hope my anger was not at a bodhisattva. But we really don't know for sure. The higher the bodhisattva, the more skillful they are able to use their interaction with me to bring me along the path as I need. So they say it's protection to know that as long as I don't get really hotly angry at a bodhisattva, I won't destroy my good virtue. But then be careful with that, because we want to be pretty keen also realizing that we don't actually know exactly who is and who isn't a bodhisattva. So they say the conclusion we want to draw is, I don't want to let myself have the luxury, if we call it that, of getting really hotly angry at anybody and letting it go on. Why is that anger at a bodhisattva so terrible? So bodhisattva is a stronger karmic object, not as powerful as one's lama, not as strong an object as as a Buddha. Maybe almost as powerful as a parent. Because of their efforts in their practice and their closeness to their Buddhahood, they become a strong karmic object, which makes any deed we do towards a bodhisattva, more powerful. So make offerings to a bodhisattva, and you're adding to your eons of practices. You're adding to your goodness. Get mad at them, really angry at them, is powerful negative seed. The negativity is because we can only get angry with somebody or something when we believe that something that they did to me was coming from them, that they decided to hurt me, which means they don't care, which means they disrespect me, which means they're not to be trusted, which means, right? And it triggers this wrong thing in my mind. And because I don't like what they're doing to me, my reaction is anger. And I use that anger to act in a way to get them to stop. And then my criteria for how to act to get them to stop, because of the mental affliction and the strength of the ignorance, really doesn't bother to consider what seeds am I planting in my mind as I interact with them. Will they be good ones or will they be bad ones? I just act to get them to stop hurting me. Underneath all of that is the ignorance that believes they are the true source of this pain, this discomfort that I'm experiencing, this danger I'm experiencing. So it's the ignorance factor. I call it the blame factor. That is the strength of the negativity that makes the anger so powerfully destructive of our goodness. So we make offerings to holy beings because of our belief in how to plant our seeds such that we can increase the goodness of our own heart, which means we increase the goodness of our outer world for everybody. That's why we do them when we understand. That's what happens when we do them, even if we don't understand. If we grew up in this tradition of making offerings to the Buddhas, it's in order to make good karma, to collect good karma. Good karma means when it ripens, it will be pleasant for me. And if it's pleasant for me, it's likely more pleasant for everybody in my world because you've got a happier me. When negative ripens, there are lots of kinds of negativities that can ripen. The ones that push our angry buttons are these dangerous ones because of that power and unpleasantness of anger. So when that anger arises, right, it comes up as an emotion, a surge of energy. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to stop there. So Master Shantideva is pointing out, of all of our mental afflictions, anger is this force that makes us willing to be hurtful to someone because they're hurting me. It's a hurt for hurt. And anger is what we call the emotion that is willing to hurt somebody to avoid what's going on. Anger. And he says there is no deed that's more awful than an act of anger. Awful for who? Evil for whom? For our own mind. Right? Yes, it impacts others in many ways, we'll see. But the main one it's impacting negatively the worst is our own mind. It will lead to the habit of getting angry. It will lead to a world that makes us more and more angry. it will lead to angry people around us. What's the fourth flower? Anyway, so if anger is the worst of the worst mental afflictions, then to struggle against it is the hardest or the most beneficial spiritual practice to take on. So he says there's no spiritual hardship like patience. It's the hardest thing to do, is to learn how to use our moments where anger is triggered to not act from it and to, in fact, still do the opposite of what our mind heart is wanting us to do. That's the practice of patience. It does not mean learn to stuff your anger, learn to ignore your anger. We will get sick if we do that. It does not mean just stay there and let the person abuse you. Does not mean that either. Sometimes the highest spiritual practice you can do is run away fast. And that's okay. It's the highest thing. We learn how to recognize the situation as it's pushing our button. We learn to recognize the sensation within us that, oh, that's anger before it's full-on anger, and work with it at more subtle levels. We learn all the skills. Once we recognize, oh my gosh, anger is more dangerous than I ever understood. Okay. So the anger that can destroy those eons of goodness has to do with its intensity, and the strength with which we are holding to our belief that they did that to me, the blame factor. When we have any sense in our mind, it sure seems like they're doing that to me, but I know it's my karmic seeds. That's protective of this damaging eons of goodness. It's still, the anger is still planting negative seeds. It's the sustained blaming, really, really strong anger that can do the damage. But again, once anger gets going, I don't know about you, but once it gets going, it just grows. Already we struggle against anger. So Geshe-la says anger is a barometer of our ignorance. And anger destroys us in ways that we can be aware of, and it destroys us in ways that we're not aware of. So up until now, we were not aware that strong anger could destroy so much goodness. Now we know. It makes life deteriorate. I'm going to get back to that. Okay, let's go to the next one. What's my time? 5 to 6. Oh, I'm past our break time. Let's take a break. I'm so sorry. Oksana needs her coffee. Oh, she has it already. Okay, are we back? Right. The second contemplation is about the effects of anger that we can see if we look for it. If you hold to the sharp pain of thoughts of anger, your mind can know no peace. You find no happiness, no pleasure. Sleep stays away, and the mind remains unsettled. So in these teachings, when they say peace, they mean nirvana, reaching nirvana. Nirvana is that state of mind that is free of mental afflictions and seeds for more because of having seen emptiness directly and learned to live accordingly. So having angry mental afflictions happening is preventing us from making our progress towards nirvana. Even if our goal is not nirvana, we will reach it on our way to our Buddhahood. So if we can't reach nirvana because of anger, we can't reach Buddhahood either because of anger. That anger overrides any mental happiness. Even low-level irritation. We can't be irritated with something and happy at the same time. We can toggle back and forth, maybe. But that low-level irritation all the way up to full-blown angers, that's not what it is to be happy. And we could make the argument, no, there are some people who are happy being angry. They think that their anger is happiness. And then because of that, they act the way anger makes them want to act, which is, nasty to other people. And they even seem to think that makes them happy. But if we apply our understanding of karma and emptiness, the pleasure that they are getting from being angry can't actually be coming from the anger. Because anger makes us do unpleasant things to others. And unpleasant things done to other brings back unpleasant results. So if anger makes you happy, you're creating the seeds for happy, angry people to interact with you in the future, which they won't be kind. They'll be happily nasty to you. So, no, it's a misunderstanding that even in the moment of anger, if we think we're having some happiness from it, it's not from it. And the cause of anger, the result of anger is upset, is pain. So we'll find no happiness, we'll find no pleasure. Anger earlier in life is destroying goodness. It's because it's the opposite of kindness. So kindness is that we've done forever and in this life are accumulating, and unkindnesses are accumulating. And unkindnesses that sort of match kindnesses are gonna impact each other. And an unkindness will make a kindness's power less. A kindness will make an unkindness's power less. So you've got this constant interaction. The more angry we are, or the more angry seeds we're putting in, the more our goodness is damaged. And that goodness damage manifests as, oh my gosh, things are getting harder. Things in my world are getting uglier. My own body is getting more difficult to deal with. It's getting uglier. The aging and the way the world gets worse as people age, it's not because the world is getting worse. It's not because our body is aging. It's because of anger having damaged our goodness. So we don't have the goodness to sustain the goodness of the world and the beauty of our body that was ripening as that before. It's a subtle effect of anger, how it affects our karma of goodness. So no happiness, no pleasure. It disturbs our mind from sleep. And when we don't get enough sleep, we're on constant edge and irritated. And so it feeds that being angry. And then lastly, the mind remains unsettled. We're constantly off balance and so easily triggered for other mental afflictions when we have this state of mind of, it's not going my way. I don't like it. This isn't right. Right? All the blame factor that makes us angry and resistant to other things. An unsettled mind is then a mind that's very difficult to meditate and also difficult to choose a different action than the one that's automatically like coming forth in the situation that's pushing our button. A balanced mind can be aware, oh, here's that being insulted again. I can feel it, and it makes me want to insult the other one back again. But you know what? I'm not going to do it. A balanced mind can choose differently. Next, he says, suppose there were a master who bestowed upon all those within his care both wealth and honor as they wished. Still, they would rise to kill him if he lived in fury. It leaves your friends and family tired of being with you. They refuse to stay on, even though you may entice them with gifts. So anger hurts ourself in those ways, those 5 ways from before. And anger hurts our relationships. Because even if we're a really, really, really nice person, but then we're prone to these rages, these tempers, the people around us can't trust us. They won't get close because they never know when you're going to blast them with some kind of unpleasantness. And the cycle tends to be the person with the anger rages, everybody backs away. Then they realize and they try to make amends, and they're extra kind and extra generous and extra wonderful, trying to attract again. But then something triggers and off they go. Sooner or later, no matter how kind we've been to those others, they will get tired of dealing with our mess and they'll leave. Physically, they might leave. Emotionally, they leave. We can no longer rely on those relationships because we ourselves have let our anger push them all away. And it's a terrible cycle. It's a problem that's maybe more common than I recognize. And it's a cycle that's so difficult to break. It tends to be learned through experience with an authority figure, right? Somebody else in their life acted like that. And it's karmically perpetuated, and it's horrible for everybody involved and very difficult to break. And it is nothing but karmic patterns. And so it is breakable, it is changeable. It requires, of course, the wish to change and the understanding of how to change. And then it does usually require help, professional help and guidance to change those kinds of patterns for the rage issue, rage problem. So he says, to put it simply, there is no one with anger who can be happy. Anger, our enemy, brings us these and other pains as well. So he's starting into this metaphor of fighting, of war, declaring war on our mental afflictions, particularly our mental affliction of anger. Anger is such a powerful enemy that it takes the power of an act of war to overcome it. And it's like, I resist that violence, that violent impact. There's never anyway. But his point, well, we'll get to it. So hopefully we're thinking, it's like, if I could hear this about my anger and just decide to never get angry again, then fine. But I have heard this about my anger. Like, I first learned Master Shantideva's Patience chapter in 1993. And I admit I still get angry. Not like I used to, but it still comes up. And it's like, I can't just decide to turn it off. What do I have to do? How do I work with it, Master Shantideva? Like, help me. So he says, anger feeds on the food of feeling upset, then strengthened, turns to smash me. And so then I will smash the sustenance that feeds this enemy of mine. My foe knows no other kind of work at all except to cause me pain. No matter what happens, I will never allow my joy to be disturbed. Feeling upset cannot accomplish my hopes and only makes me lose the goodness that I have. So this one's tricky because it sounds like he's saying, okay, I recognize that before full-on anger comes irritation. And so if I can stop the irritation at the irritation level, I can prevent the anger. And the way I stop the irritation from coming up is not allowing anything to disturb my joy. But if I could do that, I wouldn't get irritated and I wouldn't get angry if I could just say, no, I'm joyful no matter what. And it's like, what if you don't have joy? What if you're neutral? Is that enough to say, I'm not going to let my neutralness be negated by irritation? It's not about willpower, is it? Or we would all just decide, I'm never going to get angry again. Willpower is not enough. Mm. Our tendency is that as functioning human adults, we have learned to tolerate the things that are irritating and upsetting as part of life, and we cope with them as best we can, and don't recognize that in doing so, we allow them to perpetuate. And it puts us in this vulnerability place for a full-on anger to blaze up because our low-level irritation has been building. And then what it takes for somebody to push our anger button is the threshold is lower because our irritation is higher. If we don't have the chronic irritation, then the threshold from the anger button to get pushed is much higher. So Master Shantideva is saying, let's learn to figure out what kinds of things just bring on that little irritation and work at that level with our mindfulness and our behavior change, because it's actually easier and more frequent. So we have more frequent opportunities to show ourselves that those things that are irritating, I don't have to let them build up in my mind. I can understand where they're coming from. I can burn them off and not perpetuate them, because they're the little things. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's too windy. Oh, I have too much to do, right? We all have our favorite specialties that keep us a little bit irritated when another person comes along and says, can you do da 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 da? Or why didn't you do da 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 da? If our own edge of irritation is lower, then those things that others do won't set us off. So how do we work with those low-level irritations in order to prevent them from growing into full-on anger? Here is his very famous verse. His Holiness quotes it often in his answer to people's, what do I do about such and such? If there is something you can do about it, why should you feel upset? If there is nothing you can do about it, what use is being upset? So suppose there's a situation that we find irritating. Maybe it's as minimal as stumbling over rocks on the pathway. That can be enough it used to be enough to set me off. So suppose I'm grumbling to Master Shantideva about the neighbor that doesn't sweep their walkway and it's covered in gravel and it makes it hard for me to walk on. And I'm getting angry, irritated, and then I'm not liking the neighbor so much. And then if I let that grow, if the neighbor just looks at me cross-eyed, I'll get mad at them. I've never done that, but I can see it happening. Master Shantideva would say, is there something you can do about that situation? Yes, I can go sweep the sidewalk. Yes, I could ask them to keep the sidewalk swept. There's all kinds of things I could do. And he says, well, why be upset? Just go do it. Or in a given situation, is there really nothing you can do about it? If that's true, what use is being upset? Your being upset isn't going to change it. The being upset will only change you for the worse. Let it go, whatever it is. Now, it takes honesty to decide, is there something I can do about it? Or is there not something I can do about it? And the level that we personally choose to decide whether we can or can't do something about it is the level at which we see where our upset kicks in. Truly, if there's something that would upset us and we can fix it, just go fix it. Getting upset first is a waste of time and a damage to our karmic goodness. And if there's nothing we can do about it, what's the use? It is, Geshe says, airtight logic. Work it through to the point where we understand that these are the guidebook answers to what do I do about blah, blah, blah. The things that we're upset about. Geshe gives us these two verses in Tibetan, right? If I could read these squiggles, I would read it to you, but I can't. So I will give it to you this way. So if you like other languages or you would like to help preserve Tibetan, memorize these 4 lines. Gelte chusu yuna ni, de la migar chishikyu, delte chusu mena ni, de la miga jechi pen. Gelte chusu yuna ni, de la migar chishikyu means if there's something you can do about it, why should you feel upset? Delte chusu menani, if there's nothing you can do about it. De la miga jechi pen, what use is being upset? Really, really clear. By the time we're full on angry, these 2 verses won't help us. These help at that low level irritation when things are still at the place where we could actually act in a different way to resolve the problem, apparently resolve the problem. Okay? All right. Let's go on. What am I doing with time? There is nothing in the world which does not come easily if you make a habit of it. Make then a habit of bearing the small pains and thus endure the greater. So his Master Shanti Deva's recurring theme is all of these changes that we're wanting to make in ourselves. They are habits, negative habits, habits that we realize now are habits that are perpetuating our unhappiness. And to stop habits, we replace them with new habits rather than trying to just stop an old habit and not give ourselves something else. Like if you were a smoker and you tried to quit smoking and you just throw all your cigarettes away, and then the urge comes and you reach into your pocket for your cigarettes and you get nothing, the urge for the cigarette gets stronger. If you reach into your pocket but get chewing gum instead of cigarette, the habit gets broken faster. So even with our habit of anger, our habit of the little irritations that lead to anger, if we make a habit of recognizing the irritation, deciding whether I can deal with the situation or not, and then recognizing the unpleasantness of the situation's gonna burn out, I can tolerate it. I can actually even maybe use it to burn off those seeds. And our need to act to avoid something unpleasant adjusts. Habitually, as soon as there's unpleasantness, we react to avoid it, stop it. As our understanding grows, our tolerance grows of discomforts. And as our tolerance grows, our even definition of discomfort changes. And that will happen if we work at changing the habit of, I don't like this, I need to stop it, to, I don't like this, let's burn it off. All right, let's use it up. Not meaning if your life is threatened, right? If somebody's beating you up, new habit, run away fast. But in those little irritations, I have too much to do, don't ask me to do one more thing, I can't do it, blah. Learning to recognize that discomfort of too much to do, it's okay. I can let it go. I can fill it with the challenge of all this that I have to do. He's empowering us to make a new habit, build a new habit. He says to grow patience is a decision we can make. It's a state of mind. And his example is that some, when they catch sight of their own blood, rise to a higher ferocity. Some, when they see another person's blood, faint and fall unconscious. All of this derives from either steadfastness or cowardice in the mind. So he's in that analogy of fighting with our mental affliction. And if we are an actual warrior at war, doing battle with another person, we might suffer a flesh wound. And some people, when they do, will get all the more powerful and forceful against their enemy. And others, when they're in the battleground, see one person get a little cut and they just faint away. Meaning, when irritation starts and anger is building, do we have, he calls it steadfastness to our practice to say, no, you anger enemy, I'm going to be forceful to prevent you from letting me do the habitual action? Or does the minute that unpleasantness come up, I go, oh, woe is me, and act in the same old way? It's a choice that we make. It's a strength of heart, strength of mind that we decide how we're going to work with that situation. He says, learn then to disregard harms and never allow any pain to touch you. Hurt may come, but the wise never let suffering cloud their clarity of mind. Maybe you've heard that phrase. In human life, in samsara, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And the first time I heard that, it struck me very deeply. It doesn't mean we're supposed to like pain. It does not mean we should put ourselves in harm's way. Enough negativity comes out of our own seeds that we don't need to go looking for it or instigating it in order to burn off our negativities. When unpleasantness happens at any level, we recognize unpleasantness is happening. It will pass. If there's something I can do about it, do it. If there's nothing I can do about it, why be upset with it? Why react badly towards another, trying to get it to stop? Why not act kindly towards another to try to get it to stop? What we do in the moment doesn't get it to stop. What we do in the moment plants seeds for whether we will experience it similarly again in the future. So this isn't saying let yourself take all kinds of pain and harm. It's saying don't let the suffering from the pain and harm color your choice of behavior. It will color the choice of our behavior when we're upset. Our upset mind can't see clearly what is the kind thing to do, because all it can see is the habitual thing to do, which is yell back or be mean or criticize, whatever our habit pattern is. When we delve deeper, we see that we can develop this discipline, this awareness that recognizes the anger coming on at much more low levels when it's still at the point where we can choose a different reaction. And then maybe we choose a different reaction and the situation persists. We choose another different reaction and another one as the seeds are burning off for that unpleasantness. When we're not suffering from the pain, our mind can stay clear and make a wiser choice. Is the wiser choice always going to be the best choice? In my case, often not. But it's not the automatic one. It's not the react with unkindness one. It's some level of attempt to be kind. Maybe I could have done better. But still, the attempt to change is powerful. We are locked in combat with mental afflictions, and in war, many wounds are sustained. Ignore then any pains that might come. Smash the foes of anger and such. Conquering these is a thing that makes a warrior. The rest are killing only corpses. So he's pointing out that in a physical war, when we're trying to defeat our enemy and we believe that the way we defeat the enemy is by killing more of them than they kill of us, he says that's so pointless, because those other human beings, they're just gonna die. Their bodies are limited. Just outlive them and you've won the war. They're already walking dead. But your mental afflictions, those have no expiration date. They perpetuate themselves. They are not gonna die. So to be the warrior against our mental afflictions, now you're a hero. When we can overcome our any mental affliction, jealousy, ill will, the habit of lying, any of those, to overcome that mental affliction, especially once and for all. Now there's a true warrior, because they've done the battle with their own reactions to pleasantness. I want more, and unpleasantness. I don't want that. So the key in all of this is this keen awareness with the feeling that comes up of, it's not going my way. I don't want this. The anger starts with this sense of reject, a really, really subtle sense of, I don't want that. That's the level that if we can be working with that, we'll see in the next class or two. That's where we cut the growth of full-on anger. All right. I have a little bit more here. So lastly, he says, in the commentary, there are 3 kinds of patience that we're learning to grow. And within those, there are many situations, of course. But here are the 3 in Tibetan. The first one is Dunyel Dangdu Lempe Supa. Here's the word patience. Dunyel means suffering. Dendu Lempe is a phrase that means to take it on gladly. So this means the patience of taking on suffering gladly, meaning using the suffering, the displeasure that we're experiencing, to burn it off. Doesn't mean we have to stay in it being beat up. It means we don't try so hard to avoid the unpleasantness that comes. We use it, whether it's physical, obvious unpleasantness, the unpleasantness of change, or pervasive unpleasantness, any unpleasantness that comes along, we can use it as our path. Take it on gladly, which right there helps us stop doing the automatic things that we do against those situations that are unpleasant. We can be more kind in the face of them when we're taking them on gladly. Now, I don't want that to come across as meaning put yourself in harm's way, give yourself unpleasant situations, not at all. Just when they come, okay, I understand where this is coming from. I'll burn it off. I'll be kind. I'll distract the situation so the other person doesn't keep hurting themselves. We'll talk more. The second kind of patience we work with, chula nye parseme supa. Chula nye parseme supa. Chula means the Dharma. Dharma can mean all existing things. But here it means our study, our practice, our spiritual path work. Nyepar seme means to concentrate. The patience of concentrating on the Dharma practice, meaning growing our use of our understanding of the marriage of karma and emptiness so that it's coloring our mind, our heart as constantly as possible. So when we are in a situation of the unpleasantness that we're using for our path, the way we use it is to apply our Dharma wisdom to it. Lots of different ways we can do that. Oh, my karmic seed's ripening. Okay, fine. I want to plant new ones that are nicer. Or maybe, I don't know for sure, but maybe this person is an angel helping me in some way. Or definitely, this is the Buddha coming to me, helping me, right? All different kinds of ways that we use our Dharma. But here it's the patience of growing the ability to hold the Dharma in mind all the time. That's a kind of patience. Then the last one, Nupa Chepala Jimi Nyampe Supa. The Ji isn't Jimi, it's Shimi. Nupa Chepala Shimi Nyampe Supa. Jimi Nyampe means I could care less. And Nupa Chepala means when somebody hurts me in any way, I could care less, patience. So the first one is any suffering comes to me, I'll use it as the path. The second one, I will hold my Dharma training in mind constantly and try to use it to guide me. And the last one is even when somebody hurts me, I'm especially going to use my Dharma practice then. It's like, I could care less. Bring it on. Kind of patience. Don't do that one prematurely. But imagine what it would be like if we were a person whose mental affliction of wanting to stop or avoid those things we don't like was automatically by doing something helpful, useful, kind, Just imagine what you might be like and the impact that we would have on others when they see someone who is not angry in a circumstance where everybody expects them to be. I'm going over time, just a few minutes, please. The first time that I was at His Holiness's teaching in Tucson in 1993, he was teaching this chapter, the patience chapter. And in the question and answer session, someone said, you know, how can you possibly have compassion for the Chinese after what they've done to your country? And I don't actually remember his actual answer, but what impacted me so incredibly is the compassion that radiated from him during his answer. And it was something about, you know, that what happened, and the impact on the minds of the beings that did it is really, really negative. And he feels compassion for those beings and the culture, and he feels compassion for the culture that destroyed his culture. He feels compassion. And I felt it so strongly. And I'd never seen that before. A situation where you should be hostile and there wasn't an ounce of it. It was amazing. It really impacted me deeply. And this is what Master Shantideva is trying to help us reach. And I think there's no way that I can be that compassionate in the face of such an awful situation. But to imagine myself that way, right? That's good seeds, to just imagine and to have an example of it in my own experience gives me a glimpse. And so we can do the same for others. We can give a glimpse of what it is to have less anger or to act differently from our anger than what everybody expects us to be and do. And so our own work with our own anger will, in fact, help others. Even if we don't go to them and say, you know, you shouldn't act badly from your anger, because nobody wants to hear that from us. Not until we've demonstrated it ourselves. Okay. So if something upsets you and there's something you can do about it, go fix it. If something upsets you and there's nothing you can do about it, go do something you can do something about. Drop that upset. There's no reason to be upset. Right? Try it on for size. So remember that person we want to be able to help. We have learned stuff that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your growing trust in them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, and then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all get a glimpse of what it is to have no more anger. And may it be so. All right. Thank you again for the opportunity. I love this course. Course 11. I'm stopping recording. Done. Stop recording. Yes, Frank.
Yeah, the last, I don't know how to tell it, the last verse that you told us, the Dugnal Dang Du Lempe Super. To which Tibetan text is it related? Can you show us?
Commentary. The commentary.
The
You'll find that
commentary.
in the commentary. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's not in this PDF you showed us parallel.
It'll be in the reading. The PDF that I was showing you is the reading.
Okay.
And I was just picking out the verses from the root text, so it'll be inside there
Yeah, okay.
in your reading for this class.
So for me, sometimes would be good to see the Tibetan writings, and then I have this the speaking.
Yeah, that one. That one, it's not in Tibetan. It'll only be in the English.
Okay, thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
for teaching. It was great.
My pleasure. Thank
So
you.
great that it started again.
Yay. Love your enthusiasm.
Many, many thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.